have found the Genesis frequency. This is Dr. Stephen J. Kazmina welcoming you in to another episode of a show that focuses on your whole life prosperity and success. Whole life prosperity and success by cooperating with the universal laws that are available to each and every one of us. This is Quantum Leap Goal Achievement, radical personal transformation, whole life prosperity and success. Now, stay tuned for another exciting episode that'll move the needle in your life from where you are now to where you want to be.
And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it may be, wherever you are in the world. When you hit that play button, so glad you did. You found the Genesis Frequency podcast, and I am Dr. Cause, and in fact, Dr. Stephen J. Kazmina. And, that's what it's all about, cause and effect. As a metaphysician, that's what I bring to the table through this show and through the talks that I do every week, week in and week out. Every morning I do inspirational piece 7 days a week, and usually a talk on Sunday or Saturday or somewhere in there, and a lecture. And then in training, of course, personal, professional, and leadership and spiritual development, all under my umbrella. But it comes down to cause and effect. It really does. And what is the cause? What are the cause for our circumstances, our conditions, what we are experiencing in our lives, what we want to experience in our lives? In the last episode, I talked at length about really discovering that power within you, that power that you are made of, and drawing from it, living from it. Go back and listen to that episode. I really like that one. I like them all. I did them, but some, it just comes out. The inspiration just comes out. I don't script these shows. I don't write them out. I I rarely know what I'm going to say. Of course, I pick a direction for the topic, but I rely solely on wisdom, inspiration, and guidance coming from within to direct well, lead me in the direction that I want to take the episode. So, we talked about power. We talked about this tremendous, this infinite power, this source that you are not only made of, but you have the ability to draw from, to stand in your power and live from it rather than playing small. So, when we recognize that, when we spend some time in the silence or spend some time practicing mindfulness or meditation, what is ours to really do or realize when it comes to accomplishment, achievement, improvement, development, all of that? When we look through the lens of cause and effect, what is it? What's next? We don't like our results that's been showing up. Okay, let's examine the cause. We want to move something more desirable into our field of experience. All right, let's go to cause and create from cause. We're drawing this power, we're drawing on this power, I should say. So we know we're willing, we're able, because we want something more than what we are currently experiencing, right? You listened to the last episode, you did the inner work, you are aware that you have this higher self within you, this source of all that is, that you are made of, that you can draw from and live from. So, what's next, really, when we look at cause and effect? And I'd like to direct your attention to a little book. It depends where you are on the self growth journey, personal growth, professional growth journey, spiritual growth journey, whether you have heard of this or not. But it's a little book, been around a long, long, long time. And the book title is As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. We're going to take a look at this over the next few episodes. We'll see. We'll see how far, how deep we can get with this episode here. but we're talking about cause and effect. And this little book is loosely based on the proverb that we find in Scripture with as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. That's a Proverb 23, verse 7. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And so James Allen, who was someone that was born in 1864 and was with us to 1912, he was a uh, somewhat of a philosopher and a writer. He was a publisher. He had a magazine and the Epoch, I believe it was called. And he wrote this book that really gained a lot of traction after he made his transition. But it's so powerful. I mean, it's still quoted, it's still used by coaches and consultants and leaders and inspirationalists and all those that do this work in the field of self and personal and professional improvement and development because it's looking at cause, right? As a man thinketh in his heart, right? Deep inner thought, so is he. See, we have to be first, right? Goes back to the be, do, have model. So the first chapter in this book is really talking about that. It's really driving the point home. The first chapter in here talks about thought and character. What is character? It's what are you being? How are you showing up? And I'll share some of this with you. I don't know if I have time to read the chapter's really short. Maybe I can get through it here. I have a few things highlighted that I did want to share, but let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at the highlights rather than I don't like to read whole chapters on the within this podcast because you can certainly get the book. I think it's public domain now, and you can just grab a copy off the internet or reach out to me at Stephen at successocean.com. Stephen, Stephen at successocean.com. And we'll see to it that you get a copy or make an appointment. Let's have a conversation. Successappointment.com gets you on my calendar. And that's for any training you want to do. That's for programs that I facilitate. It's for courses that I teach. That's for public speaking at your company, doing corporate training within your unit on performance, productivity, communications, profitability, priority management, all that. That's all under my umbrella. So whatever it is, whatever improvement you're looking to be facilitated in your life and you'd like some help with that, you contact me the same way, successappointment.com or Stephen at successocean.com. And I'm still looking for individuals that would love to move into the field of personal professional leadership development and make that career move, start building towards a bright future within this industry, a very lucrative future. So reach out if that's you, if you're interested in that as well. All right, back to As a Man Thinketh. So one of the things as he starts this little chapter here, he's talking about just the law. Everything is thought. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And he says it not only embraces the whole of man's being, but is so comprehensive as to reach out to every condition and circumstance of his life. A man is literally, and this is written at the turn of the century, so man means mankind and is inclusive of man and woman. Okay. So mankind is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his or her thoughts. Okay. So think about that. So when we look to the good that's showing up in our lives, when we look to the not so good or what we might label bad that's showing up in our lives or undesirable that's showing up in our lives, we can trace back that everything that we're experiencing, we can look at cause and effect and see that the results. What has been showing up is the result of something that we have been thinking. It is a result of our dominant thought. Remember, the formula is always the same. Thoughts plus feelings plus actions equals results. So we have to realize this. We have to go back and we have to look at, wow, man, I've been going through this stretch here. All right, what have you been thinking? Have you been so focused on the undesirable that is showing up that your thoughts are consuming you by focusing on the undesirable results? So then what we're doing is we're thinking from the effect. We're not creating a new version, a new model, a new ideal using our mind. We're dominated by what we don't want, and we're thinking about it constantly. I think I referred to that in the last episode as the balance sheet syndrome or the report card syndrome. Results thinking. Standing around in the puddle. I use that a lot. Standing around in the puddle, complaining that your feet are wet. Just focused on the puddle, not thinking of higher ground, not thinking of dry land or something like that. So let me share a little bit of this highlighted area here and give you what really jumps out for me. And get the book. Again, we're talking about As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. He says, of all the beautiful truths pertaining to the soul which have been restored and brought to light in this age, none is more gladdening or fruitful of divine promise and confidence than this, that man is the master of thought, the molder of character, and the maker and shaper of conditions, environment, and destiny. As a being of power, intelligence, and love, and the Lord of his own thoughts, man holds the key to every situation and contains within himself that transforming and regenerative agency by which he may make himself what he will. Wow. I mean, that's it right there, isn't it? It's like, here you go. You are the shaper, the molder, the master. You get to choose the thoughts you think. He says man is always the master, even in his weakest and most abandoned state. But in his weakness and degradation, he is the foolish master who misgoverns his household. When he begins to reflect upon his condition and to search diligently for the law upon which his being is established, he then becomes the wise master, directing his energies which with intelligence and fashioning his thoughts to fruitful issues. Such is the conscious master, and man can only thus become by discovering within himself the laws of thought, which discovery is totally a matter of application, self-analysis, and experience. And that's what we're talking about. It's self-discovery because you can look at what's showing up in your life and you can work backwards to get to cause, get to thought, get to the thoughts that have caused the conditions you're currently experiencing. You can go and see this. You can see how the law, and this is law, the law of cause and effect, thought, right? Plus feelings plus actions equals results. You can see this. You can trace it back. This is the law of cause and effect in action. And that's what he's saying. Most people, and I usually use the term unconscious competence, but he's saying it right here, becoming the conscious master, right? Rather than the unconscious creator, right? We create unconsciously. We just, like talked about in the last episode, we become that steel ball in the pinball machine. just bouncing around from living a series of reactions from one event to one result, one experience to another, just bouncing and reacting and reacting and reacting and reacting and creating all the while, totally unconscious that we are creating more of usually the same, depending on what our dominant thought is, depending on where our thoughts are focused. So it's so important really to get this. And I thought it was really important to insert this now as we're coming off the episode talking about how powerful we are, talking that about how we are made of infinite intelligence, unlimited wisdom, all knowledge and knowing that is in our creative source. And we are of that. We are one of that here and now. So when we look to and do this work and look to the effects that are showing up and trace it back, we can prove this to ourselves. We can prove the law of cause and effect. And a lot of people at first will be like, "Oh no, I didn't create that." Well, yeah, the pond has a ripple effect, and if we throw two pebbles in, those ripples tend to bump into each other, but we still get to choose our own thoughts. And what I mean by that with the ripple and the pebble, yes, we encounter other people that have other thoughts. We encounter other people that are living unconsciously. We're living in this world that, hey, everybody's got a free choice, right? But you have a free choice to choose your thoughts and not to react to someone else's reaction. So, tracing this back, proving the law of cause and effect, seeing it in your own life, you can then say, hey, I'm going to choose something new. I'm going to choose something different. I am going to choose to deliberately and intentionally be at cause in my life. And you can prove this way. Or maybe you've been doing this for a long time and this is just a refresher for you. But it should also excite you at the same time, no matter where you are along this positive path for personal and professional growth. And I mean professional too, because this applies whether you're in the boardroom, an element on the corporate team, supervision, management team, executive team, it doesn't matter. Whether you're just working on something in your life and you want to move out of current conditions that you're experiencing, well, it's law, all right? You can't just shut this off and say, "Well, I'm in the corporate world and I'm an executive in the boardroom and this is nonsense here." No, this is what's creating your culture. This is what's creating your results. This is what's creating your bottom line. This is what determines if you're profitable or not. This is determining how successful you are. Culture is the character of your organization. So you had better pay attention to this. So this isn't malarkey. This isn't airy fairy gobbledygook. This is the law of cause and effect. This is the way that we are wired, the way that we are built, the way that we can create the world we would love to live in personally and professionally. This is how we become leaders, knowing that other people think thoughts too, and respecting that, empowering them to think thoughts, to create from the thought process. So that's what this is all about. Grab this little book and dig in. We're going to go a little bit further because we're just about out of time for today. But just know, just prove it for yourself. And just know that you're creating your world by the thoughts you think. And I can't say it enough. It comes out in almost every episode, one way or another. We think 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day. And those thoughts tend to materialize or are creative in one way or another. So it is our thinking. It is our dominant thoughts. Is it every single thought? No, because we can think some pretty raw, nasty thoughts sometimes, right? And we do that. We think thoughts. But we can set out from this day forward to be deliberate and intentional creators of the effects that we experience, knowing that our thought is the cause. So when we are thinking some of those thoughts, some of those raw carnal thoughts, meaning thoughts just based on the world around us, those reactive thoughts, those thoughts that keep us anchored into the results that we don't want to experience, we can now be aware that, hey, I want to get out of that thought process. We call it a train of thought for a reason because one thought gives birth to another because it's always thought gap, and we make a millisecond, nanosecond choice within that gap. Hey, do I continue in this train of thought and develop this, embellish it, maybe add to it, maybe move some assumptions in, or do I determine right there and then, hey, I don't want to experience more of this energy. I do not want to operate on this frequency. I want to create a new ideal. I want to create a new experience. I want to be a more effective thinker. I want to be more efficient as a creator and a designer of what is showing up in my life as my experience. And it's thought, and it's dominant thought, and it's dominant thought wrapped with feeling, and it's sustaining that thought, and it's reinforcing that thought by writing, by speaking it, right? It's be, do, and have. You have to be it by speaking it in an affirmative way, taking claim and ownership to what you want this character, what you want your world to look like, and what you want your experience and your results to be. You have to become it. You have to become it. And this is where the heart part comes in. As a man thinketh in his heart. A lot of time heart was used as a reference to the subconscious mind. So we're drilling these thoughts down through affirmative statements. We're drilling these into our subconscious mind to the point it becomes our reality. And then what we do or the actions that we take produce the results that are showing up. This is how it works. The law of cause and effect. We'll take a deeper dive into As a Man Thinketh by James Allen as we move forward. For right now, that's all the time we have today. I think this is fascinating. I love it. Prove it to yourself. Do it. Think a new thought. Stay with it. Stay with it. Tell me about it. Tell me about your experience with it. And if you feel a little bit stuck, again, reach out. Stephen with a PH, STEPHEN at successocean.com is my email. Successappointment.com gets you on my calendar. Successocean.com is the website. TheGenesisFrequency.com is the website. A bunch of them out there all over social media. Stephen with a PH, J, Kosmyna, Kosmyna. Dr. Cause and Effect. That's me. And you've been listening to the Genesis Frequency Podcast. That's going to do it for today. This is Dr. Cause and Effect, Dr. Stephen J. Kosmyna, wishing you an infinitely spectacular day. God bless you.